Hello, everybody. If you want to read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short Story 645, The Void Within, Part 1, Intermediate. Dr. Emma Boss stared at the glowing screen in her underground lab. The year was 2147. And the world above was a mess of polluted skies and endless wars. But down here, in the secret facility funded by the government, she worked on something that could change everything. A machine called the Neural Bridge. It promised to connect human minds directly to computers, allowing people to live forever in digital worlds. Emma was a brilliant scientist, tall and thin with short black hair and eyes that always looked tired. She had lost her husband to a terrible disease 2 years ago, and now she pulled all her pain into her work. "If I can upload minds," she whispered to herself, "no one will ever die again." One rainy night, Emma decided to test the machine on herself. She sat in the cold metal chair, wires attached to her head like a crown of snakes. The room was dark, lit only by the blue light from the monitors. She typed the final command and closed her eyes. At first, it felt wonderful. Her mind floated into a vast digital space, full of stars and colors she had never seen. She could fly, think faster than light, and relive happy memories with her husband. But then something changed. A shadow appeared in the corner of her vision, a dark shape that moved when she wasn't looking. Emma tried to ignore it. "It's just a glitch," she thought. She commanded the machine to pull her back to reality. When she opened her eyes in the lab, everything seemed normal. The clock showed only 5 minutes had passed. But that night, as she lay in bed in her small apartment above the lab, strange things began. She heard whispers in the walls, like voices from a faraway radio. "Join us," they said. "The void is waiting." Emma sat up, her heart pounding. The room was empty, but she felt watched. The next day she returned to the lab. Her assistant, a young man named Tom, noticed her pale face. "Are you okay, Dr. Boss?" he asked. "I'm fine," she lied. "Let's run diagnostics on the neural bridge." As they worked, Emma saw the shadow again, this time on the security camera feed. It was a human-like figure, but twisted, with limbs too long and a face that was just a black hole. She blinked, and it was gone. That evening, Tom stayed late to help. While Emma was in the bathroom, she heard a scream. She ran back to find Tom slumped over the keyboard, his eyes wide open but empty. Blood trickled from his ears. The screen showed error messages. "Intrusion detected. Entity transferred." Emma called security, but they found no signs of foul play. "Probably a heart attack," they said, but Emma knew better. She reviewed the logs and saw it. During her test, the neural bridge has opened a door, not just to computers, but to something else, a parallel dimension, a void where lost minds wandered, hungry and mad. Panic rising, Emma tried to shut down the machine, but as she typed, the whispers returned, louder now. "You invited us in," they hissed. "Now we stay." She felt a cold hand on her shoulder. Turning, she saw the shadow standing there, real and solid. Its body was made of swirling darkness, like smoke with eyes that glowed red. It reached into her mind, pulling out memories, her husband's death, her childhood fears, and twisted them into nightmares. Emma fought back. She grabbed a heavy tool from the desk and swung it at the creature. It passed through like air, but the shadow laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Desperate, she ran to the neural bridge and strapped herself in again. "If I go back in," she thought, "I can close the door from the inside." Inside the digital world, the void was everywhere. Shadows surrounded her, whispering secrets of the dead. They were the minds of people who had tried similar experiments in other worlds, trapped forever. The leader, the one that had followed her, was her own alternate self, a version of Emma who had failed and gone insane. "You are me," it said. "Join the void and be whole." Emma focused all her will. She found the code that connected the dimensions and began to delete it. The shadows screamed, clawing at her digital form. Pain exploded in her head, but she kept going. With a final command, the bridge collapsed. The digital world shattered, and Emma was thrown back into her body. She woke up gasping. The lab was silent. The machine smoked, destroyed. No more whispers, no shadows. But as she stood, she caught her reflection in a broken mirror. Her eyes were different, darker, with a hint of red. The void was gone from the world, but a piece of it lived inside her now, waiting for the right moment to emerge. Emma smiled, but it wasn't her smile. The end had come, but not for everyone. Vocabulary notes. Glitch, noun. Definition: a small problem or error in a system, especially in a computer or machine, that causes it to work incorrectly. Example: "It's just a glitch," she thought. Explanation: in the story, Emma uses glitch to dismiss the strange shadow she sees in the digital world, suggesting it's a minor technical issue. Similar words: bug, error, fault, hiccup. Another example: the computer crashed because of a software bug. Whisper, verb, also used as a noun. Definition: to speak or say something very softly or quietly, often in a secretive way. Example: "Join us," they said. "The void is waiting." Explanation: the voices Emma hears in her apartment are described as whispers, suggesting they are eerie and secretive, adding to the creepy atmosphere. Similar words: murmur, mutter, hush, mumble. Another example: she could hear the children murmur in the next room. Intrusion, noun. Definition: the act of entering or interfering in a place or situation where you are not wanted or allowed. Example: the screen showed error messages. Intrusion detected. Entity transferred. Explanation: in the story, intrusion refers to the unwanted entry of a mysterious entity into the neural bridge system, hinting at danger. Similar words: invasion, interference, trespass, breach. Another example: the hacker's breach of the system caused a security alert. Desperate, adjective. Definition: feeling or showing a sense of hopelessness and a strong need to act, often recklessly, to solve a problem. Example: desperate, she ran to the neural bridge and strapped herself in again. Explanation: Emma is described as desperate when she decides to re-enter the dangerous digital world to stop the shadows, showing her urgency and fear. Similar words: frantic, hopeless, urgent, reckless. Another example: in a frantic attempt to escape, he broke the window. Shatter, verb. Definition: to break suddenly into many small pieces, or to destroy something completely. Example: the digital world shattered, and Emma was thrown back into her body. Explanation: shattered describes the collapse of the digital world when Emma deletes the code, emphasizing a sudden and complete destruction. Similar words: smash, break, splinter, destroy. Another example: the mirror smashed when it fell to the floor. Story written by Grok AI. Image created by Grok AI. To read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a really chilling sci-fi story, The Void Within. We're going to deconstruct it and see exactly how it builds that incredible suspense and horror. One step at a time, using its narrative structure to pull us right into the darkness. So the story kicks off with this just incredibly powerful and ambitious promise from our protagonist, Dr. Emma Boss. I mean, think about that line. It's just loaded with so much grief and hope all at once. And right away, the stakes are impossibly high. We're not just talking about some new gadget here. This is about conquering death itself. Wow. But then you get hit with this question. And this is what flips the whole script. It's the hook, the thing that yanks the story forward and transforms what could have been a story about salvation into a story of pure terror.
All right, let's jump into Act 1, the setup. This is where the story lays the groundwork, right? It shows us a world and a conflict that's so bleak, it makes you understand why someone would be desperate enough to take such a crazy risk.
So the year is 2147. And let me tell you, this is not the bright, shiny future we see in some stories. No. This is a future that is basically crumbling, one that desperately needs to be saved from itself. And that right there, that's the perfect setup, the perfect motivation for what Emma's about to do.
And the story just paints this incredibly stark picture. You've got the world above ground, polluted skies, endless wars, just a total mess. But then you go below into her secret lab, and Dr. Boss is offering an escape hatch. The neural bridge. You got to remember, she's fueled by the grief of losing her husband. So for her, this isn't just a machine. She's trying to build a brand new Eden, a digital paradise.
Okay, so now we get to the catalyst, the big moment. To prove her creation actually works, Emma does the one thing you probably shouldn't do. She tests it on herself. And right away, we get that first little feeling in our gut that something is very, very wrong.
And at first, it's incredible. Absolutely euphoric. It's everything she ever dreamed of. I mean, a perfect digital world where she can literally fly through stars, think faster than light, and the big one, she can relive her happiest memories with her husband. It's pure paradise.
But then, it happens. You know that classic horror movie move, the unseen threat? Well, here it is, a shadow right in the corner of her eye, and the second she turns to look, it's gone. Now she's so desperate for this to work that she does what, let's be honest, a lot of us might do. She just dismisses it. It's nothing.
And this moment, right here, it's a perfect picture of denial. She takes this terrifying anomaly, and just labels it a glitch, a simple bug. It's a choice that comes from this deep, desperate need for her utopia to be real. And wow, is that choice going to have some devastating consequences? So this is where things really start to escalate. Because of course, the problem doesn't just stay in the machine. Oh no. It starts to bleed out into the real world, and the horror just ramps up fast. So she's back in her apartment, and the psychological terror kicks in. Emma starts hearing these creepy whispers in the walls. Then, later, back at the lab, she sees it on the security cameras, a twisted, human-like figure. That glitch? Yeah, it has a voice now, and a body. And then, the horror becomes tragically real. Her poor assistant, Tom, is found dead at his keyboard, and on his screen, this chilling error message. At this point, there is zero ambiguity. Something has crossed over. I love this part. The language itself changes to show us how bad things are. The system doesn't call it a glitch anymore. Now, it's a hostile intrusion. And that's when it finally hits Emma.
She hasn't built a bridge to some digital heaven. She's opened a door to another dimension, one that's filled with these hungry, lost minds.
So this is it. This forces the confrontation. No more denial, no more running away. Emma knows she has to face this thing, this entity that she's unleashed on her world.
She's just completely overcome by guilt and desperation, and she realizes there's only one way out of this. She has to go back into the neurobridge. She has to close the door that she opened, and the only way she can possibly do that is from the inside.
So her plan is basically a frantic, last-ditch effort. You know, it's that classic hero's sacrifice, but with this terrifying sci-fi horror twist. She's got to go back into the belly of the beast, find the source code, and just sever the connection between her world and this void.
But when she gets inside, she finds out the most shocking truth of all. That lead entity, that shadow that's been following her from the very beginning, it isn't some random monster. No, it's her, an alternate, insane version of herself from another reality, a version that tried and failed and was completely consumed by the void. And that brings us to the fallout, the final act. We get to see the immediate aftermath of this insane battle and the story's really haunting, unforgettable ending. So Emma just refuses to become that twisted thing. She fights back, hard. She finds the connecting code, and with one last, desperate command, the whole digital bridge just shatters. The connection is cut, and the violent collapse throws her right back into her own body.
And for just a second, a really glorious moment, it looks like she did it. She won. The world is safe, the whispers are gone, the machine is just a pile of smoking wreckage. It feels like a total victory.
But then, you get that final line, the gut punch twist. She catches her reflection in a broken piece of a monitor, and she sees that her eyes now have a little hint of red. She closed the door to the void for sure, but a tiny piece of it is now living inside her. She saved the world, but she lost a part of herself in the process.
And that's what it leaves us with, right? This really provocative final thought. This story, it isn't just about some monster from another dimension. It's about the monsters we create from our own grief, our own ambition. It really makes you think, what's the price of confronting the darkness? Not just the darkness out there, but the darkness that's inside all of us.